Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to review your next essay assignment in this class. This is the Room for Debate essay assignment. First, I must review the background. This topic is about youth violence. It doesn't matter where you live, whether you live in the suburbs, in some rural area, in some tribal area or urban area, youth violence impacts us all. It's rising in the city, especially in big cities like Chicago, New York, Los Angeles. It's everywhere. If you perhaps think that you're in a safe zone where you would never be impacted by youth violence, just pick up a local newspaper or go to a major website online today that feeds you with the news. Pay attention to any instances of crime or violence and pay attention to the perpetrators of such crimes. Don't be surprised if you come across some fact, some revelation that the person who committed this crime is somebody young, a youth. Here is how the Center for Disease and Control, the CDC, defines youth violence. CDC says it's the intentional use of physical force or power to threaten or harm others by young people ages 10 to 24. It could include fighting, bullying, threats with weapons, and gang-related violence. Youth violence is something we all have to deal with, and there have been many solutions offered by politicians, by organizations, even by the justice system on how to deal with it. Some people believe we can deal with this by throwing these youths in jail. Some people believe the best thing to do is we need to encourage more responsible parenting. After all, if these kids were brought up in good households, why would they go on the streets, or why would they go into people's car, breaking into cars, stealing these cars, or committing other crimes? I have to admit that I have been a victim of youth violence. Youth breaking into my car and trying to steal my car. Not on one occasion, but on two occasions. And it just goes to show that when your city you're living in, I live in the city of Chicago, has growing pains, it soon spreads to other parts of the city, and individuals living in the city begin to suffer the effects of it. So this topic is relevant, not just because there are big cities that suffer from it, but because there are individuals, particularly who are many of you's age mates, who's supposed to be in college, who are committing crimes that they shouldn't be committing because they don't have anything else to do. Well, that's what some school of thought would say, that give them jobs and they will stop committing these crimes. Well, you are going to be reading an argumentative essay. Actually, it's going to be two argumentative essays, which I will review in a minute or so. There is a proponent side and there is an opposing side, and basically you are going to be engaging in summary of the proponent's side and the opposing side, and you are going to, after engaging in that analysis, especially when you summarize, you are going to decide, pick a side you think is making the most persuasive case. So in essence, I've already summarized what I'm expecting to see in your paper, and this is on page 3. So you're going to create an engaging hook. You're going to talk about the issue at contention. What is the matter being discussed? You're going to examine the author's method of argumentation. Remember the handout I gave you on how you can identify an argument if someone is making an argument of evaluation, argument of fact, argument of definition. That's going to be helpful here. You're also going to analyze how each author responds to counter arguments. You're going to evaluate in your closing remarks a claim that is made by one debater or author against the other. So each author is anticipating objections to their positions, and they have thoughtful responses. So without further ado, let me go into the argumentative essays you're going to read. So this is on the pro side, we have one written by Charles D. Stimson. On the con side, we have one written by Mac Mulher. So Charles, he is used to be an attorney, actually a homicide and sex crime prosecutor, and he has experience concerning this topic of juvenile and violence. We have Mark, on the other hand, is somebody who advocates for those who have been incarcerated. He wants to abolish life sentences. Well, I don't know how that's going to solve the problem, but he believes there's a way to do this. So these essays you read are not too long. You're just looking at the documents. It's barely up to 3 pages. So you're going to read both sides, and you're going to analyze and summarize them in your room for debate essay. Okay, so that's your main goal. So you're going to read those essays. You're going to read from Charles D. Stimson and Mac Mulher, and you are going to do so in accordance with the specifications I've outlined on this document that I'm reviewing right now. If you don't know how to start, I have given you some suggestions. There's a background to the room for debate. It's not something although I created and designed this assignment, the goal for the room for debate is to try to find some common ground, is to at least agree to disagree. But you have your position. That's not to say that you don't take a position. So I want you guys to take a position. You feel free to side with one side or the other. Or if you don't think you can side with both sides, that's fine. But it should be clear what your position is, or the author whom you side with. That said, once you complete the room for debate essay, your draft, I will be giving you feedback on your first draft. You need to pay attention to the formatting instructions. Some of you have not always been diligent about the formatting instructions. Even despite the fact I have a picture of what I'm expecting to see, you still submit paper without your name. So you want to take care of this issue, because if this gets into your final paper, I will mark you down for that. Lastly, you want to remember resources that you can take advantage of when you're working on this assignment. There are resources in week 10 and 11, materials we review in the class. I am going to post a student sample essay. Take a look at that. If that helps you stimulate your thoughts or to write better, make sure you take a look at that. Remember that this assignment is what? About 125 points of your grade. You don't want to toss this in the bin by not completing your outline, which I always ask you to complete for your first draft, and you would turn in a draft. You can put the outline and the draft in one document. It need not be separated. Then of course you have the due date. Okay, so when you turn in the room for debate essay, understand that I'm expecting to see your final draft, which will be an improved version of your first draft. That said, looking at this assignment, you will complete all the deliverables as outlined. Make sure you understand what I'm expecting from the structure and organization of your paper, of course the specification and guidelines, and of course the formatting instructions, which I have described here. That concludes my review of the room for debate essay, which focuses on youth violence.